Good evening. I'm Heather Palmer with HP Nightly News, and we are here with Zander at a local tenement here in New York City for an update on the living conditions. So, Zander, what do the living conditions look like in these tenements?
Well, if you really want to know, the tenements are pretty horrid these days. So first of all, as you can see by this tenant behind me, it's very small and very cramped. This means that because in tenements, a lot of families try to crowd in one room so they don't have to pay too much for the tenement rooms. There's a lot of people in these small, cramped rooms. This means that the sanitation in these rooms are quite horrid. In fact, especially when somebody gets sick, it's easy for the sickness to spread through all the people just because everybody's breathing the same air all at once, and it's really hard for them to not get sick if somebody else gets sick. And to add on to that, the breathing conditions or the ventilation systems are not quite good either. There's no ventilation systems at all, so the bad air is kept in the air, and there's no clean air cycling through, so it's always the bad air through and through, and so this makes it a lot easier for people to get sick, and including too many people, it is easier for the people in the tenant to become sick. And adding to the sickness, these tenant people have to poop in buckets, which this is actually quite horrid. Pooping in buckets, and they have to throw it outside once they're done with that. And this is horrible because people have to walk through poop every day. That's just nasty. And this is also really bad for living conditions because poop causes a lot of disease. And so this means that disease travels even quicker. So these days, sickness does really take a toll on everybody. And also, one more thing about these tenements is that there are no windows, meaning there is no natural light, and except for, of course, the unnatural light is the light above their head. And I really do feel like that light can really help us. And I feel like because there's no windows, this is a really hindrance.
Wow, that sounds like really harsh living conditions. How many people did you say live in these tenements?
Well, there are around 2.3 million people living just in New York City. That means 2.3 million people get to experience this bad living conditions inside these tenements.
That is really horrible. It makes me sad. What is the government doing about this?
Well, that's a good question. Some of the things that the government is trying to do to help these bad living conditions inside these tenements are, they're called building codes. And these building codes are, for example, helping the sanitation. And we've already talked about some of those, which are, first of all, windows. They are trying to build some windows inside these tenements so that natural light can come in and get that benefit of that natural light. And including that, there are some things, for example, instead of pooping in their buckets, they actually have sewers and sewers. And so they can actually poop without throwing them outside and causing that disease to spread even quicker. And including disease, to help disease, they're only allowing one family to live inside these tenants, so it doesn't get overcrowded, and so disease doesn't spread too quickly because there's so many people inside these tenements. And the last thing that I feel like is really helpful is that there is air ventilation, meaning that the bad air that might be circling around the room is always going to be recycled for the clean air. This means that less sickness and less sickness is going to be spread around because there's more clean air that keeps on getting refreshed into the tenant.
Well, we want to thank Zander for giving us an update on the tenement situation in so many of our cities. Tune in tomorrow night to learn about the working conditions. And good night.